stop recording when we're done.
That is correct.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a good one.
All right.
All right.
This is it. We're live.
This is it, Chief.
This is it. We're now.
All right.
We're going back.
We're going back. All right. Beginning of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is CMSgt Case, and welcome to the first episode of the Total Force Leadership Podcast, or soon to be named. I'll go and introduce myself. My name is CMSgt Case. I work at the NCOIC of the pharmacy, and I've been at Yokota for about 2 years, 2.5 years. I've been a part of TFLD, or Total Force Leadership Development. Been a part of the team for about 1.5 years, and I'm the lead facilitator. And today I have a guest with me, Chief Choate. If you want to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm Chief Master Sergeant Clayton Choate. I'm the Squadron Superintendent for the Mighty Ronin Elite 374th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron. I've been on Yokota now for about 1.5 years, and I am the senior mentor for the Total Force Leadership Development Flight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, Chief. So we're going to talk about some of your sports teams, hobbies, and let's talk about favorite assignment as well.
Okay.
Let me see. So I know your sports team for baseball. You're a big baseball, yeah?
I am.
So it's the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
The heartbreaking Atlanta Braves.
Hey, listen, we'll talk about that. I'm used to it, right? We're the best team in baseball for 18 years and one World Series title, and it's just my October, November ritual now is just prepare for the
heartbreak.
The heartbreak.
Yeah,
yes.
the postseason heartbreak.
That's right.
I feel you. What about your hobbies?
So, my family, we're a bit of sports junkies. So, I like to, we like to work out. We like to play sports. Coaching was a big part of my life until I really made chief and got here. And then the JOB kind of took over and didn't have a whole lot of time to do that kind of stuff. But no, man, I love coaching and teaching and doing all that stuff. So that's really my main focus as far as hobbies go.
That's tight. What kind of coaching or what sport?
So I coached baseball for about 15 years back in the States. I've coached about 7 years of football as well, all the way down from Pee-wee, 7, 8-year-olds, all the way up to I've helped coach a couple high school teams. So,
that's cool.
It's like I said, man. I think sports in general really teaches us about life, right? It teaches us about resiliency and teamwork and being part of a unit that's bigger than yourself, to throw that cliche out there. But I think sports more than or just as much as anything else really kind of prepares you for the rigors of life. So,
I agree.
So that's why I like it so much.
So football, baseball. Any other sports?
So I have coached basketball as well.
You've coached basketball.
Man of all
talents.
So
you be hooping?
A little bit. I'm a 6-foot white guy, so there's not a lot of.
You got fundamentals. Be boxing out.
There's some limitations there.
Yeah,
I
got
box
you.
out pretty good.
I got you.
So, but no, man. Like I said, I love competition, and
tight.
I love playing sports. Anything I can get out there and compete in, I like it. So.
That's cool as heck.
Yeah.
So I know your son plays football, right? Your two sons or one son?
So I have two boys. I have a
two
senior
boys.
and a freshman.
Okay. They're both on the football team?
They both played football this year, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that was a pretty cool experience as well. It's like a dad's dream, having
on the same squad.
The boys, on the same squad, man. It was awesome.
Yeah. And he played, the oldest played quarterback? Or
the youngest. The
youngest
freshman
played quarterback.
was the quarterback, yeah.
And then with the
and the other one played tight end and defensive end was his main
They had
spot.
a couple of receptions to each other?
They did, yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah, so, me and Mom acted like high school kids up there, it was great.
That's cool.
Embarrassed the family a little bit,
man.
but it's all good.
Hey, that's worth it, though.
It's memories.
Yeah.
It's memories, for
That's
sure.
pretty tight. What about favorite assignment?
So...
Wait. How long you been in?
So I have been in for 22 years.
22?
22.
My man.
Big 2-2.
Okay.
Got 8 more left if the Air Force keep me.
Yo, that's crazy.
So we'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
enjoying
awesome.
every minute of it, man.
Yeah,
like I said,
cool.
I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed to have a great family and a great career so far. So I'm just enjoying every second of
That's
it, man.
tight. That's tight.
So yeah.
So you've been to a lot of bases then?
So I have. I started my career off at Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska. So it's funny, right? The assignment team has a sense of humor. I went through basic training and out of Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, country kid. And filled out my dream sheet, my first dream sheet, and put all coastal bases, right?
Really?
I wanted to join the Air Force, see the world. So I'm putting California, I'm putting Florida, South Carolina, a couple overseas bases, and the assignment team looks at it and laughs and says, bam, Omaha, Nebraska, right? That's
How
always
far is
how
that from home?
Works. So the one good thing about it was very close to my home. So it was, I say very close, about 6-hour drive. So
That's not bad.
It's something on a 3-day weekend, you know. I can hop in my little Isuzu pickup and drive home for a weekend, you know, see the family. And so, and it's good. I think it helps young airmen for that first assignment, even though they may want to get as far away from home as possible, some of them say. It certainly helped me and transitioned me to adult life, was being able to be close enough to home to where I could go back, but be far enough away from home to where I could still maintain that independence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what's crazy about that is I was the same way. I wanted to get away from home so bad. Right, I'm coming from like the outskirts of LA.
Right.
And my first base was Luke, which is Phoenix, Arizona. And I had my dream seat was all overseas. Like I wanted to buy the first iPhone, right? But they were like, well, iPhones can't get service, you know, overseas yet. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy a BlackBerry. And I was like, bet, I'm gonna use this BlackBerry in Japan, Germany, like I'm gonna make moves. And it took me to Luke. I was there for 6 years. I was like, man. So I didn't have any regrets. You know, I thought I regretted it at the moment, but you know, it kind of helped me build that foundation.
Right.
You know, and my wife and I started dating too, because she's from my hometown as well, and you know that came to fruition as well. So everything happens for a reason. And I think that's a big message. You know.
Yes.
A lot of people coming in, they have that mindset like, I just want to dip, I just want to go, and that was me too.
Right.
So I think everything happens for a reason, but that's really ironic how you have the same kind of mindset as me when we joined too.
Yeah.
How old were you when you joined?
I was 21.
Okay. So you had a little college?
Yeah, I'd gone to a few years of college.
Yeah.
You know, came in. Actually, I had 4 years of college, but only about a year's worth of credit. So it was one of those things, right? I was your classic all thrust, no vector kind of kid.
Oh,
you know,
man.
I knew I had
similarities.
I knew I kind of had what it takes to be a responsible adult. I just didn't have the force and the guidance at the time.
Yep.
So so I knew I needed to make a change, and the Air Force and the military gave me that. What I needed at the time, and
that's tight.
So here I am. So
like I'm looking in the future.
Right.
I don't know about the chief though. I don't know about the chief though. Hey, we'll get there.
You're
on
your way, man. You're on your way.
Okay. Favorite assignment. So you've been through a lot. You started off it, right?
So
you got sidetracked. Go ahead.
So I came in for it, and it's funny how life works out, right? So I came in for a 4-year stint. You hear so many throughout any people you talk to, right? 4 years and that's it. I'm out.
Dipping.
And then at the 3-year mark, I got picked up for a special duty postal assignment to Ankara, Turkey, to work out of the embassy.
Yo.
And this is pre 9/11.
Wow.
So this is so I get to go and take my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, ironically,
that's crazy.
to Ankara, Turkey, and work out of the embassy there, and got to work with the State Department and the Marines and all those folks there at Ankara, and got to travel Turkey. You know, all the things that have gone on in the world post 9/11. The thing that I think hurts my heart the most as far as these young airmen getting to travel is that they don't really get to experience everything Turkey has to offer.
That's very true.
Turkey is now, you know, you go over the Incirlik and it's you know,
hot.
it's closed down and they just don't understand that back in the day, man, that was the spot.
I've heard
that alley right outside of the base was just hopping with you know, food and drinks and all the gold and leather and shotguns that you buy. You know, that was the thing, right? But then not only that, is you could get in a bus or your car and travel, you know, an hour down the road, and you're at the castle by the sea, and then it's a cradle of civilization out there, man. And it's unfortunate that, you know, young people in general, but military people specifically can't go and enjoy that
experience
anymore.
That like you did.
That's
pretty cool.
I did 15 months there, and from there I went to Dover Air Force Base out on the East Coast, and then I came here. I was here about 10 years ago at Yokota.
Okay.
Which was great. It at the time was the best assignment I ever had, and then I went to New Jersey, out at McGuire Air Force Base, and then to Ramstein, and then back to Japan.
Man, you've had a nice little list going on.
I'm telling you, man, blessed. I am blessed. It's been a great ride, a great mix of stateside and overseas bases.
That's cool.
But the best, I think, is probably to answer your question.
Yes.
We've kind of rambled here for a while, but Ramstein probably.
Ramstein?
Probably, man, just because it's just so conveniently located right in Central Europe, and we just had an amazing time there. Got to travel a lot. Got to going back to another quick sports story. My son played competitive baseball there, so every year he was in that perfect age where we got to compete to go to the Little League World Series and represent Europe every year.
That's tight.
And so we traveled all over Europe and played baseball for 3.5, 4 years, and it was just a an amazing experience, man.
That's
It was
cool.
good, but Japan's a close second, man.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
here
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know how good they got it, man.
Until they leave.
For real, until they leave,
Until they
absolutely.
leave. Yep, I've heard a lot of that.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's tight. Ramstein, I've been there once, and I was only there the post-deployment treatment. Have you heard of that? You know, like you leave.
Yeah.
I went to Bagram,
Okay.
and from Bagram we went to I think it was like DCT or decompression training.
Right.
And it's like 3 days at Ramstein. It's like a therapy session. Kind of you talk about your deployment. You know, what were your stressors, and kind of getting back into the civilian life, or not civilian life, but back into the Royal Air Force. You know, and
Slowly bring you back in.
Right. And I just remember that BX at the Ramstein was just insanely
ridiculous. Yeah.
huge, insanely huge.
Yeah.
And seeing Cinnabon was like one of the happiest moments
Right.
at the BX, because I went like 6 months without it, and I was like, Cinnabon!
Woo! Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty tight.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
it's almost
cool.
too. Ramstein's almost too big and too busy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's like that. I just call it a mall. It's not
Right.
really even a BX. It's like a mall. It's just like it's just crazy, especially on the weekends, especially this time of year. I don't miss having to go Christmas shopping.
You got
in
like
that giant
K-Town,
place. Yeah,
Kaiserslautern.
K-Town,
Yeah, that's the stuff.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So,
That's
but it
pretty
was good.
cool. So in terms of Total Force Leadership Development, so how long have you been a part of the program?
So I've been a part of the program now for probably a little less than a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think about it? I mean, have you seen it before at Ramstein, or is this your first time hearing about it?
I had not. So I hear it came from Ramstein, but,
Right.
but for some
It was
reason,
birthed
whenever
in
I was there,
Ramstein.
I didn't hear a whole lot about it. We were pretty busy. I know that I'd been to an emotional intelligence course, like
Yeah.
a seminar, and I'm just assuming that was taught by TFLD.
Right.
But at the time, they didn't. I just didn't see the marketing kind of push there.
Right.
So I didn't really know much about it until I got here.
Right. And then from here, it kind of took off.
Yeah.
And I know it started with Chief Walker and Chief Lewis. They kind of birthed the program. And
Right.
I think for people who don't quite know what TFLD is, it's kind of like it's a professional development platform, is what I like to call it. So whenever I brief it, I always call it a platform,
Right.
because we're not briefing,
Yes.
and we're not like supplying like tangible materials to people. Like, this isn't a place where you can just go and you just all of a sudden get tools in your toolbox. This is stuff for you to like reflect on,
Right.
and stuff that you can learn about yourself. You know, and I think some people have a misconception about TFLD because they think it's like another professional enhancement seminar,
Right,
where you go,
exactly.
you get handouts, people are
Yep.
going to be briefing you, you're not going to be participating, you're just going to sit there and enjoy like death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what we do is we bring something totally different. And I think some people, it make or breaks them, and we've seen this on the feedback forms as well. I mean, what are your thoughts on like the way that the way the program is kind of shaped into right now?
So what I love about it is it's a classic iron sharpens iron, right?
Right.
And what I love and what I tell everybody is the way I look at professional development is don't do professional development because you want to, get the next rank, or you're looking at that. Do it because you want to be the best you that you
Yep.
can be, right?
Yeah.
And that's that's the best part about it is rank is not an issue, is not a factor, right?
Right.
You have people, we have A1Cs that do seminars, we have
Right.
all the way up to chief master sergeants that'll go in there and facilitate. So you get so many different perspectives from such a diverse background cadre, if you will, of
Right.
facilitators that it's really it's really great, the message there from that you get from TFLD.
Yeah.
And people are there because they care, right? And they want to develop people, and they want to develop leaders.
Yeah.
And so by those means it's an amazing program for
Right.
sure.
I think that's one of the big differences too. I like how you mentioned like we have like A1Cs and A1Cs and chiefs, and then like from the officers as well. We used to have like
Right.
LTs,
Absolutely.
captains. We have majors,
Civilians.
civilians. Like, I think the way that we kind of bring this to the table, it's different than you'd get at another professional development platform.
Absolutely.
So in terms of like your inspiration and motivation, so I guess my question to you is, so you've been in for 22 years.
Mhm.
When did you know that you wanted to be a chief? Like, when did you have that drive, motivation, be like, okay, I'm gonna get this stripe?
Wow. So that's a great question. And for me, it kind of goes back to the professional development thing, right? It's like there was never a time in my life where I was like chief was the goal.
Right.
But what I did was I always developed myself professionally and personally because I wanted to be the best Clay Choate I could be, not be the best NCO, not be the best senior NCO. and by a product of that, I just made chief.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It
so
does.
it's and that's what I tell you. And I heard Barack Obama make a quote one time that
You're
really
about to drop some
resonated
knowledge.
with me.
Hold on. Let me.
You're right. It's do things. Don't focus on what you want to be. Focus on what you want to do.
Wow.
And so that is so. For instance, if you focus on what you want to be, if your goal is to say, I want to be a chief, and you do whatever it takes to get there, then what happens when you get there?
Right.
Right. But if your goal is to help people, if your goal is to make people grow as leaders, if your goal is to be the best, role model to your children or role model to your airmen or whatever the case may be, then by product of that, you'll find yourself where you need to be.
Right.
And so his big message was when he saw it in Washington a lot, right? Is people trying to get to a certain level, and you see it in the military all the time. It's like people are so focused on that next step that when they get there, their goal is met, but they continue to set those arbitrary boundaries. Oh, I'm a master sergeant. Well, now I got to do what I need to do to be a senior master sergeant.
Right.
Well, now I'm a senior master sergeant. Now I need to do what it takes to be a chief master
one.
sergeant. Instead of just focusing on themselves, right, and making themselves better, and then by product of that, the ranks will come.
Wow. I think I kind of struggle with that, to be honest. And I don't know if it's because of the way the promotion system has, where I feel like I have to compete
Right.
with other people now, and I kind of it changes my mindset. So my passion is in developing people now, and it wasn't like that until I joined this program. It was very not self-centered. It was more focused on like working better, working more efficiently in the pharmacy, and it was putting my goals and stuff towards the pharmacy as well. And it still is. However, I found a new like passion in developing people and trying to get the word out, and the good, like, as you say, the good word.
Yeah.
Get the good
Sure.
word out.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I think it's interesting that you say that, because I think I need to kind of take a step back and really focus on what I want to do rather than what I want to be. Because right now, whenever I guess I'm looking at stuff that I do for work, maybe this is just me and being shallow, but I look at it as a bullet. How can I bulletize this right now?
Yeah.
Like how can I benefit this, that I have a passion for, like this TFLD? How can I bulletize, or how can I make this so I can put it on EPR that'll get me to where I want to be?
Right.
But I'm not focusing, I guess, on what I want to do.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty important. And I don't know if I'm the only one struggling with that, because the way it's really competitive, I feel. So
Right.
That is definitely a big thing.
I promise you are not the only
Yeah.
person that struggles with that.
Right.
And you're right. The institution sometimes makes us that way, right? Because things are becoming so competitive now,
Right.
with doing away with WAPS testing, and now we're just going to records.
Yep.
And that's my main fear in that, is that
Right.
it's going to kind of perpetuate careerism more than ever now.
Right.
And so that's kind of my message to everybody that asks me, right? It's just make sure you're focusing on making yourself, the best form of you, and the Air Force will find you. You don't have to make sure that the Air Force, you don't have to be one of those guys that jump up and say, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. If you're doing the right thing, and if your cause is just and your heart is in the right spot, the Air Force will find you. They will make sure that you're that you're recognized, and they will push you forward. It's kind of like, again, I live in athletic terms, right? So I tell my son, it's the NFL is full of people who are not recruited to D1 schools.
Facts.
Right?
Yep,
and so
facts.
you hear, well, if you play at Dodds, it's so hard to get recruited, and you can't play college in any sports or anything like that. If you're talented enough, the
They'll find
NFL and professional sports will find you. They will, because there'll be a chance somewhere for you to show them what you're made of and what you got, whether that be at a camp or at something like that. So don't focus on going to school and playing sports at a big school or whatever. If your dream is to be an NFL player,
Right.
get in the gym, practice, make yourself the best baseball player, football player that can fit inside of your body, right? And then let the chips fall where they may, because if you're talented enough,
they'll find you. They'll definitely find you.
And the Air Force, if you're talented enough and if you do the right things, we'll find you.
That's
So,
tight. I like that.
yeah.
I like that a lot. That reminds me. So there was during the baseball season, I don't know if you heard about it, the Oakland A's. during one of their games, right? I think it was like one of those little stations where you can just throw the ball and they monitor the speed.
Right.
Did you hear about that guy?
No.
Okay, so this dude was just chucking 97-mile-an-hour balls. Get this, they signed him 2 weeks later.
Shut up.
Yup. To the D-League.
Where you throw it into like a tarp and it
Yep,
just
and
like...
it was just a viral video. Like, I think like Bleacher Report just posted the video.
Wow.
2 weeks later, this guy's on the practice squad or whatever.
There you go.
And it was like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show.
Yep.
You know, like you have the talent. All you need is just that little opportunity, and then they'll find you.
You're gonna have people lining up now at those.
That's-
I can hit 97.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
Pop.
The
65.
dude was just chucking
You're
the
like,
thing. I was like, yo, this is insane. So yeah, just by throwing that, I was like, man, that's pretty interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
So your inspirations, I'm sorry, we got sidetracked.
No, that's good,
inspiration,
man.
motivation. So where does that normally come from with you, and does that change over time? How does it what is that for you?
Right. So I'm not a big fan of motivation, to be honest with you. I think motivation kind of comes and goes. So I try not to use motivation too much. But certainly inspiration, I think throughout my career has been my family, but it's been like 3 distinct blocks, right? So so when I was a young man, a younger man. Oh man, that's hey man, I'm not old yet.
Hey,
come on now.
Touche, you got it.
I just had a birthday,
you got it. You
so,
got it.
you
You
know,
got it.
It's age is just a number. Anyway, so when I was a younger man, my goal was to support my family, right? And so I had my first child when I was a senior airman, and so that was my goal, and whatever I needed to do that is kind of what I wanted to do, right? So and what do you need to support your family? You need money, right? So that was that was a big push of mine. Toward the middle of my career, whenever my kids were a little older and I was kind of in a different place personally, it was to set the example, right? And not just at work, but at home as well. And again, I wasn't looking at it as what does Staff Sergeant Choate or Tech Sergeant Choate or Young Master Sergeant Choate need to do, to improve myself. It's what does Clay Choate need to do to be the best father, the best husband. Because what I found out, man, is that if you take care of all that, I was FTech in COIC for a while, right? And
That's
at the end, whenever I would release them, I'd say, hey man, ladies and gentlemen, if I got one piece of advice for you, if you're be good at whatever you're at, right? If you're a father, be a good father. If you're a husband, be a good husband. If you're a son or daughter, be a good son or daughter. Call your parents, take care of your family, right? And all this military stuff you'll find will just fall into place, right? So, but I really wanted to, in the middle of my career, be a good role model for my airmen and then for my kids. So, and that was really more at home than at work. I wanted to be, I wanted to set the example as far as I was going to school at the time, because I wanted my kids to see, hey, age is, again, just a number. If you want to, dad's in college, so you should probably, get
serious about it.
Get serious about school, right? Because it's a serious thing. And then toward the end of my career, now I kind of look at it as it's time for turnover, right? Like I'm turning it over now.
Right.
And so my son is a high school senior. He's getting ready to enlist in the Air Force next summer, man.
No pressure.
So the way I look at it, it's like you're going to be chief case then, right, in a few years. And so my son could very, very well end up working for you. Right. So what kind of supervisor, what kind of leader do I want you to be? Sure. Just in case, what kind of leaders do I want my son to lead under? And that's why I take one of the responsibilities as a senior NCO that I take probably the most seriously is the mentorship of our CGOs, because they're going to be his commander possibly, right?
That's
huge. And so just like airmen, they're airmen too, big A, right? And so now I'm looking at it as what kind of Air Force and world really, right, do I want to turn over to my kids? And so that's kind of always been my motivation is my family, but in different ways.
Yeah,
so.
That's really cool. So I know you talked about like the middle of your career, and so I've talked to some technical sergeants, staff sergeants that are in the, I guess, like 10 to 13 year time frame, and they hit this, I don't want to call it a rut, but they hit this point in their career where they're kind of deciding, okay, what do I want to do now? Like, am I going to make this a full life commitment? Am I going to get out and start something else new? And some people kind of face this thing where they want to try something new, maybe DSD.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to face any of those challenges when you were in your I want to say midlife crisis, but like
Right.
mid Air Force crisis, type of thing? Did you have to face any of those challenges? Or
So-
have you had people that have faced those challenges too?
So I was always very aggressive when it came to my career. Like I wanted, and I knew that I didn't want to stagnate. I didn't want to stay in one spot because
Right.
I did see people around me kind of getting burnt out a little bit
Right.
and kind of doing some of that stuff. So like I said before, like the FTAC thing,
Right.
like the postal assignment when I was a senior airman. I was a field training detachment instructor later on in my career. So I was always looking for ways to stay mobile within the Air Force and challenge myself in different ways. And what that did is it just kept things fresh. There was always a different challenge around each corner, and I was always having to learn new skills and new things in order to keep myself relevant and to challenge myself. So I luckily never really fell into that too much.
Right.
But I did that by constantly challenging myself and staying aggressive with what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
So
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I never really gave too much thought into. I have thought about it, but the special duties, the AMS assignments that you've been talking
Right.
about, postal and all that kind of stuff. It's a good idea to kind of break up the monotony. I
It
guess you
is
could
right.
say.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a good idea. So what about mentors? So do you have any mentors, and are mentors important to you?
So I did. Most of my mentors coming up are no longer really in the Air Force.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. As a young NCO, I had a great mentor as a Master Sergeant, actually right down here at the 730th, Master Sergeant Gary Deacon, who's retired now and actually living down in Okinawa. He taught me to lead with my mind and not my mouth.
Hello. Oh.
He's the first thing.
I
He's
like
the first
that.
guy that
like that.
that really came to me and was just like, hey, there is a such thing as a Jedi mind trick when it comes to leaders, right? And if you learn to do that, then the goal is to be able to lead and not say a word,
That's
right?
crazy.
And so that's because your people know your direction is clear and your people know what's going on, and so you rarely have to repeat yourself. So
I like that.
So he was probably one of my biggest mentors. Senior Master Sergeant McCoy was another big one. He was my field training detachment det chief. We were in New Jersey, and he was a kid out of Philly. That rough and scruff kid from Philadelphia, and he kind of taught me not to sweat the small stuff,
Right.
and which is great advice. Kind of keep yourself focused ahead and keep things simple. And then of course I have anybody with obviously that's made it to positions that I truly respect. Command chiefs. Chief Payne has given me a lot of advice, and Chief Young before him, and
Right.
and those guys are certainly people who I admire and respect, and I just got to speak to FTAC last week, and one of the things or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but one of the things I told them is one of them asked me about NCOs and said we will be assigned a supervisor or a raider, and what if they're not good, right? Like what if we don't like them, or we don't want to lead them, and my message to them was pretty clear. I was like, hey guys, I wish I could stand up here and tell you that every NCO in the United States Air Force will have your best interest at heart,
Yeah.
or that every senior NCO is good and just, and I
Yeah.
said, but the fact is that's just not the case. I
Yep.
said, but what you need to do is seek out those people, right?
Yep.
Like go find them. They're out there.
Yep.
Like people who truly want you to succeed in life are out there. So my advice is go find them, right? And TFLD is a great place to start, right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I said, I mean, I love the team that we have out there right now because they truly want to help people and to make them better. And so mentors and things are extremely important. But sometimes you have to do a little legwork to
Right.
find the right folks and to make sure that you're set up for success. So
Yeah. And I think during a lot of TFLD sessions, it's been brought up multiple occasions how those bad supervisors that you've had actually become your inspiration to not be that type of person.
Right.
So they drive that inner drive inside yourself. So I will never be that supervisor to my airmen. And that could possibly be even more motivation than, or inspiration than anything else. Because I never want to treat my airmen the way I was treated.
Right.
So, I'm going to do whatever I can,
Yes.
to treat them better. And sometimes people have to go through that so they could see like what they should not be doing, or how I could be doing things better.
Yeah.
And everything, that's kind of cool. So
I mean, you learn just as much from bad supervisors as you do good ones.
If anything, more.
Sometimes more, right?
If anything,
Absolutely.
sometimes more. So,
Yep.
I think we've all, if you've been in the Air Force long enough, I think you've had, your fair share, of different types of leaders. And you kind of learn, and you can, take those tools for your toolbox, and you can know what not to do and how to handle things accordingly.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. So let's talk about failures.
Sure.
What are the biggest failures that you've had in your career, and how were you resilient?
Whew.
This is a big question.
How much time we got?
This is a big question. Oh, we good. We Gucci.
Look, I make mistakes all the time. I do, and I think most of my issues are the personal ones, right? Like, man, I wish I wouldn't have said that, or I wish I wouldn't have sent that email, or those kind of things. So I think we just have to be, man, we got to take it easy on ourselves sometimes, right? And I'm bad about this, is just being hard, being my own worst critic.
Yeah.
And but I think sometimes we're too hard on ourselves, and we take just the littlest mistake that we make and blow it way out of proportion, and then we find ourselves in holes, right? That's difficult to dig out of. So, but I've had to deal with a lot of things. The big buzzword now is resiliency.
Right.
With suicides and things like that. I lost my brother when I was back in New Jersey. Died from a drug overdose when I was in 2012 when I was a master sergeant. So that was extremely difficult for me to deal with.
Right.
But it's team and it's family, right? If I wouldn't have had a good support system around me from my immediate family and the airmen that worked for me and with me and a good boss at the time. I don't know if I'd have made it through that, man, to be honest with you. But that's why I just, but that made me, on the backside of that, it made me so much more dedicated to the team and to the family, because I understand, what it takes to kind of have to push through that.
Wow.
But what you do is you come out the other side and you're so much more stronger than when you went in, because, especially when you have that crowd around you to kind of help you through. So,
so support was the biggest thing for you.
Support was big. Yeah, for sure.
Did you reach out for that support, or did they reach out to you? Because I feel like there's not a misconception, but I feel like sometimes what am I saying? Sometimes people are afraid to reach out, or they don't want to reach out because they don't want to seem like they're weak.
Yes.
And it kind of has a stigma. That's what I was looking for. The stigma.
Right. Yes. Right. So I have reached out. Mental health. I went to mental health for it, and
shout out mental health.
Yeah, shout out to mental health.
Yeah,
I will give them props all for the rest of my life.
All day.
Because sometimes you just need somebody to talk to, man.
Yep.
Like, people just don't, like, they're not witch doctors, or they're not going to give you any kind of concoction, and they're certainly not trying to take your pain away. They just want you to be able to express kind of what's on your mind, right, and what you're feeling, and it's such good holistic medicine to just be able to just to get it out, right? And just get out what's on your mind, and what you're afraid of, and what you're what's hurting and how it feels, and that's all they do, man, is they just sit there and they just listen.
That's
and
tight.
So they most definitely helped me through that, and it's something that I still use today, because we all have a cup, right? Like, our body's a cup, and every little thing that adds to your cup, it piles up, right? A lot of us have families, a lot of us have responsibilities at work, a lot of us, are trying to raise kids to be responsible adults, and every little thing, adds to that cup, and sometimes the cup runneth over, right?
Hello.
And you have to, you have to have people help you, maintain that balance between, mental health and your overall health. And so I'm a big proponent of our folks over at mental health and what they do, man. Right. And I'll tell anybody that'll listen that to most certainly use that
As a tool.
Use that as a tool if you're feeling, and don't wait until things are so bad, right? That it might be, too late,
right?
That they can't help. If you're feeling just bad one day, or maybe just a couple days in a row and you just can't kick it, just get on their books, man. Just go over there and talk to them, tell them how you're feeling. They can definitely help you out in that, because they've most certainly helped me out. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so definitely mental health is there for people, and if people just need to reach out to others as well, they should always have someone that could always reach to as well.
Absolutely.
Whether it be their good supervisor, their flight chief, or it could just be a family member or best friend.
Yes.
I feel like people should have a support system, and they may be like very introverted, or they don't want to reach out, or they feel to themselves. But I feel like a support system is huge.
Yes.
And I think that's a big tool.
You can't do it alone, man.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody gets through this alone.
One of my biggest failures. So this is against the Air Force. Has nothing to do with the Air Force. It's more family related. My sister battles with depression, and I have a hard time being able to talk to her during her depression episodes.
Okay.
Because I'm very logical when I think. When she comes to me with problems, it's really hard for me not to be like, oh, let me fix it for you.
Right.
She just wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
And luckily, I have the support from my wife. She's very emotionally supportive.
Okay.
So she can give her that emotional support that I'm not able to. But the hardest part is for me is to try to talk to her and not try to fix her problems, and also tell her what she wants to hear. Right. While trying to be reasonable. I can't find that balance now,
That's rough.
And it's pretty tough. So me and my sister, we've had like ups and downs as well. But for the most part, without my wife, like my wife is the biggest like bridge between us.
Right.
So without her, it's kind of different. So in that aspect, I'm really happy I have a support system that is there to bridge me and my sister's relationship, because it helps a lot.
Yes.
And it's tough for some people, because I'm so like, I guess not wired, but I'm so logical when I think. You talk to me about an issue, I'm going to try to fix your problem because I don't want you to be hurting anymore.
Right.
And that's just how I am. But I'm glad I have somebody there that can kind of like play both fields.
Absolutely. And that's going to help you out, man, down the road, because that's leadership, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. And that's a lot of times that's what we want to do is fix things. And sometimes people don't want you to fix their problems. They just, they just want you to listen. Right?
That's so hard.
It's so hard.
That's so hard.
So hard.
Oh, that's frustrating.
It's extremely difficult, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
So.
That reminds me, shout out to Senior Master Sergeant Bennett.
Yes.
So she, whenever she has an issue, she goes to her husband. She talked about this last month or 2 months ago. She talks about she goes to her husband with a problem, right? And the first thing he asks is, "Do you want the real answer, or do you want me to support?" Right. And shout out to them, because they have a program down, and apparently it works.
You talk about power couple, the Bennett's have got it down.
That is a key stuff. Right there.
Yes.
That is some good stuff.
You want my mouth or my ear?
You know what I'm saying? So shout out to them, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I need to do a little some of that.
Yeah, no, they're great, man.
Yeah,
they got it on lock for sure.
I like that. All right, so let's talk about some. I see you brought a book with you, Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay.
So let's talk about it. So, Extreme Ownership. You finished the whole book?
I did.
You did. So, what are your thoughts on it? Tell me some.
So yeah, man, I read this a couple years ago, actually, and it's a book that I try to share with all my leaders in my unit. It's fantastic. It's got so many lessons in here, that you can use not only in your professional life but in your personal life.
Right.
Written by a couple of Navy SEALs. That
hardcore.
Hardcore. That certainly know.
Jocko don't play.
Hey, listen. I was listening to a TED Talk by Jocko.
You heard
the
that
other
one?
day. Did you hear that one? Where he's
My
talking
man's
about
intense.
Dude.
My man's
intense. You can hear him breathing through that microphone, and you're just like, yo.
Ugh.
Man, I am not
My man's
stepping to that
intense.
guy, man.
Yeah.
He is, So, but again, he's his goal is to help people, right? Is to help open that aperture and help find things within you that you didn't know were there. And so this book is amazing. Have you finished it? You
so
said
I'm partially. I do the audiobook.
Okay.
So if I physically read, I'm gonna fall asleep.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate,
right?
Because I'm pretty visual, but I've been listening to him say it and him talk, and I'm maybe like a quarter of the way done so far. Yeah. So
you have Audible? Is that what
I have
you listen
Audible?
to?
Yep.
So that's
Audible.
my big thing now is audiobooks. So I
You
got
too?
this again a couple years ago, but for the last year it's been I love audiobooks, man, because you can just pop in headphones in the bed,
the
right,
best.
and just
It's the
listen
best.
to it. And as soon as I'm like, oh, I haven't heard a thing they've said in the last 10 minutes, so
Rewind
it's time
it.
to go to bed.
Yeah,
know?
there you go,
Just-
there you go.
We'll rewind it in the morning.
Yep.
And so, but yeah, it's No, it's great. So are they narrating it, Jocko
They
and,
are.
and Leif?
Yep, and Leif
Okay.
Babin, they're both narrating. So like
Oh,
just
man, I
to
bet
hear
that's
that
cool, yeah.
voice, you
And
know,
they both have that
oh,
voice that
mhm.
just, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it's intense.
I can't do it. but
It's intense.
yeah.
Talking about Ramadi.
Yeah.
Ramadi.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so
That's,
it's pretty cool. But one of the interesting things that it kind of puzzled me when he said it. I wanted to know your thoughts on it. He said there's no bad teams. There's
I'm so
just
glad you brought
bad
that up.
leaders.
Yeah.
So this kind of blew my mind, and I've been thinking about it for so long, and I wanted to know your take on it first.
Yeah, so I actually brought that up in one of our seminars, right?
I know you did. I know you
threw
did.
that out there.
I know you did.
And just wanted to get everybody's opinion. And, people are usually, very on the fence about it, right?
Right.
But I love the example they use in the book for that, right?
Yes.
So for those of you that don't know, just real quick, they're talking about a thing at Buds at Navy SEAL training where everybody gets a boat, right? You're in a boat crew. And I can't remember how many people are in each boat, but they put young officers as boat crew leaders over their boat, right? And so they had, long story short, there were two boats, Boat Crew 2 and Boat Crew 6, I want to say.
That's it.
That Boat Crew 6, and I may mess this up, was always coming in last, like every single day. And Boat Crew 2 was absolutely killing it, right? And they were coming in head and shoulders above every other boat every single day. And so I think it was a Master Chief, one of the Buds instructors was like, I have an idea. Let's swap just the leaders of the two boats, right? And see what happens. And so, obviously, the leader of Boat Crew 2, who was
top of the pack,
was kind of upset, right? Because he had built this team, and he was kind of upset. But he's, obviously following orders, went ahead and took over Boat Crew 6, and almost immediately they saw little improvements, right? In the cohesion of the team, and what's interesting is that Boat Crew 6 didn't necessarily fall off a ledge. They still were respectable. I think they come in second, but the very next race, Boat Crew 2 went from worst to first, right?
Just like that. Just
from one switch of one leader, and so. It's an interesting question that I have yet to see any evidence to the contrary, right? It's like, if you leaders set the tone. They set the tone for an organization. They lay the groundwork. They see you through execution, and if somebody has their stuff together and lays out an obvious path and expectations and all that, how do you fail? Right? Like how do you fail in that situation if you have the respect of your people and you work hard and again your heart's in the right place and you're just and you communicate well? It's like, how do you fail?
Right.
And so, are there no bad teams, just bad leaders? I don't see that. I don't know if you would call. So was Boat Crew 2 with
a bad team,
right?
With a bad leader.
Yeah, they obviously had a leader that was lacking, right? But they were still successful.
They were still a successful team. Were they the most efficient or the top performer? No.
Right. So,
which goes to show, I mean, there's definitely a spectrum there,
right?
So I guess it's situational. I had a high performing team with a bad leader, if you want to call it, and then you had a great leader with a bad team.
Yes.
Or what you want to call it, know?
Right.
But the point is to show that there weren't a bad team. I think the important part with that Boat Crew 2 leader is he got to that team, that crew, and he gave them goals that they could set easily. And he made them believe that they can achieve these goals, regardless of how they were performing in the past. So I think Jocko talks a lot about getting people on board, trying to get them to buy in. That juicy word, buy in.
Yeah.
You gotta get your people to believe in the cause. Once they believe in the cause, you kind of find that inner motivation in your team, and then they'll start performing. And that's one of the biggest pieces that I've been getting right now is and then in the point in the book where I'm at too, they talk a lot about trying to find that buy-in, trying to make sure your people understand the reason why, and that they believe in the reason why. Yeah, we know about it, but do you believe in it?
Right.
Once they believe in it, it kind of flows on its own, And I think that's one of the biggest pieces that happened in that situation is that the lacking Boat Crew 6 started to believe once they had a good leader. The
Yes.
leader put it into perspective. Hey guys, we could do this.
Right.
All you have to do is accomplish this, and then they started to succeed. And
Absolutely.
I think, man, that was one of the coolest stories. I mean, there's a lot of stories in there, but I think to put it into like real life perspective outside of combat, I think that was one of like the more relatable
Right.
Stories.
Well, and it resonates with us in the military, right? Because a
Right.
lot of times we work with small teams like
Right.
that, 10 to 12 people, and so as leaders of those flights or shops or something, it's definitely a good tool to have in your toolbox if you have an office or a section that's struggling.
Right.
But then the whole premise of the book is, if you do have a section that's struggling, or
very
you do
true.
have somewhere that's not up to standards, if you will, whose fault is that?
Right.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, us as leaders, ultimately, it's our fault.
Mhm.
That we're not putting those right people in the right places to be successful, or maybe it's our plan is too complex and not simplistic enough, or maybe it's we're not empowering them right and making all the decisions for them, and
Right.
and so that's really the whole premise of the book. And Extreme Ownership is just to own your battle space, right?
Right.
And to be able, and that creates trust and and followership amongst your people, and it gets that buy-in that you were talking about.
you
It
go.
gets those people thinking, hey, no matter what happens, this leader is going to have my back, and he's going to he's going to stand up for the team, and he's that guy that we want to die for, that we
Right.
want to work for. So and it's obviously an extreme in the book, but it resonates across all bands of leadership, right?
Right.
And you can still get that buy-in in the pharmacy, or on the flight line, or in your formation as a security forces person, because we all have different missions sets, right, that all kind of go into the one mission of Yokota Air Base. And
Right.
so but again, it's about owning your battle space and taking ownership and being a good leader for your people. So.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the coolest things about the book is extreme ownership. Is when you take those two words together, it kind of has like a negative connotation to it, because you're kind of thinking like, okay, what I got to own up to, da da da. But if you think about it, really,
Yeah.
'cause I've mentioned this to people. Like I'm listening to this audiobook, Extreme Ownership, and like they go to the negative connotation of extreme ownership, and it's the first thing they think about.
Yep.
But it's funny how like you kind of read into this book, and it goes into own up to what own up to as a leader, that your team might not be at the highest performing level. Show that humility, be transparent as a leader, then they'll earn respect for you, and you can lead your team better.
Right.
And I think transparency is huge, because we don't want to be shown as weak leaders or people that are incapable of leading a team.
Right.
And I've been a part of a couple teams, I guess you could call it, where we've had weaker leaders, and we've had a stronger team, weaker leader, and we're there to support. But we were not at our highest, efficiency rate, and I've seen both spectrums of it, and it's interesting hearing it from the book and hearing it actually from Jocko himself,
I'm sure.
It's really interesting,
That's
and Leif
awesome.
Fabian, it's really interesting to hear from them too. So I think if anyone has the opportunity, they should definitely read it out. We're going to be doing some more talks about it, with the program in general. I think this is definitely a good book we can build upon. But this is definitely a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited. And one more point I'd like to make about it is a lot of times people think with extreme ownership that means control as well.
Oh yeah.
And that's hey, if I'm gonna if I'm gonna own this, right, I'm gonna be making all the
micromanage this
calls.
place.
I'm gonna be, but that's almost one of the main tenets as well. It's that separation of control and ownership, right? You have to trust your people to be able to make decisions.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, understand that you're still the boss, and
Yeah.
that if things go sideways.
Wow, that is
it's
huge.
your,
That is huge. I probably haven't got to that part in the book yet.
Oh yeah,
But,
okay. I spoiled it for you, man.
No,
My
but
bad.
that is definitely. I cannot wait now.
Right? I mean, that's but that's what we
is
try
gonna
to
be
do.
interesting.
If I say you're in charge, and if
Right.
things jack up, make sure this succeeds, and I'm gonna that's not how
sure.
it is. You still have to be able to
sure.
empower your people,
Yeah.
and that builds that trust and credibility in leadership
yeah.
as well.
I think extreme ownership too. A lot of people think about it as a leader. There's extreme ownership as a follower too. And I
Yes.
kind of wanted to talk about this as well. Growing, I guess, good followership isn't preached enough in the Air Force. I feel like we're trying to not force feed, but we're trying to build leaders so fast We want A1Cs to be leading events. We want senior airmen to be leading these events. We want them to push them and lead. But we don't really take the time to give them to develop as a follower. And I think this is something I struggled with in my Air Force career as well. When I was not growing up, but when I was like an A1C senior airman, I always took orders. I never questioned anything. I never tried to make anything better. You give me a plan, I'm gonna execute the plan to the best of my abilities, and then I'm gonna move on to the next plan. And I was never taught to question things or to make things better, to make things more efficient. I was just taught to hit the line case, type these prescriptions, blah blah blah, and do it to the best of my ability.
Right.
And I feel like the Air Force nowadays, I think we need to focus a little bit more on followership and how we can build followers up first, make them really good followers. Then once you get that step, you could be a better leader, and learn how to be a better leader.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a great point. We do monthly promotion ceremonies at my squadron, and I always tell my guys that are promoting specifically to this rank that I think the most important rank in the military for your development is senior airman. I don't think we necessarily keep people at senior airman for long enough.
Oh no.
Sometimes, right? Because they're A1C senior airman staff sergeant in like
3 years.
Yeah, maybe
3 years.
And so senior airman is a very important rank for a couple reasons. Number one, because your main focus in life is the job, right? It's just you don't have to write EPRs, you don't have to. It's getting good at what the Air Force brought you in for, right? And that is to be a pharmacy tech, or that is to be an aircraft maintainer, or that is to, you need to, it's like a brisket, right?
Yep, yeah.
It's like the time and grade is the smoke. You got to keep that brisket on there, man. Don't open it up. Let it
Yo, I'm
smoke,
hungry, Chief.
bro.
Why you doing that?
It's like my old commander used to say that, though. It's like sometimes we just turn the heat up, right, and we cook that brisket too fast. It's just like you got to keep it on the smoke, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But that, and so because when you're a staff sergeant, the game changes.
Just like that.
The game
I'm telling
changes.
you put that stripe on, you go to ALS, the game changes just like that. And some people are kind of afraid of it when they go through ALS,
Right. And understandably so, because now not only are you expected to, be a technical expert in your field, maybe not at the level of a tech sergeant, but still, people see that staff sergeant stripe and they're going to expect you to know what you're talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
But you're also going to have a couple of airmen under you that are learning how to be in the Air Force, learn how to be airmen. So you're expected to teach them every step of the way. And it's, you got responsibilities, and then it's, hey, come in the flight chief office because your airman was late for work. And it's, and so
it gets real.
It gets real fast. And so when we promote people as fast as we have been, it's certainly challenging for these young guys. So I'm very, I hear you. I'm very sensitive to that fact.
You're pro E4.
Pro E4. Absolutely. Keep them down. Keep them young. Keep
Shout
them
out
on that
E4
smoke.
Mafia.
That's right. But there's things in work to kind of try to slow some of that down.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see some changes here in the next few years. I don't want to let necessarily a lot of cats out of bags right now, but I hear some rumor mill that we're going to do some things possibly to kind of keep people at those lower ranks for a little longer than we have in the past.
Yeah.
And I think, although I'm sure there'll be some upfront growing pains and some grumblings about that, it is going to absolutely help out and let people grow at a better pace, I think, than what we've had the last decade in the Air Force.
I've seen the backside of this argument too, where people talk about they weren't ready to be a leader. However, they were catapulted into this leadership position, and by them being catapulted into it, they were shown their leadership capability and their potential by being put into this leadership position. Maybe when they're not ready yet, it was kind of like a fight or flight type of thing, and they obviously flew in the leadership role. Some people might not be that way; they might go the opposite side of the spectrum. And there's a give and take. Some people are ready, some people aren't, and I think to find this balance is where the Air Force needs to find this happy medium.
Yes.
And
I just want to say this: you do not have to be an NCO to lead in this Air Force.
Ooh.
Can I just say that real quick?
Hey, one more time. Run it back.
You do not have to be an NCO to lead in this Air Force. I just said at the beginning of this podcast that we have A1Cs doing TFLD seminars. Don't let rank be a barrier to your potential. Get out there and lead. A1Cs, senior airmen, airmen basics. Hell, I don't care. be a leader, man. It's a character issue, right?
Right.
It's not. Don't let rank be a barrier to what you can possibly be. Get out there and look for opportunities to lead, regardless of your rank. And
That's
like I
awesome.
said, it will find you. We'll find you. Don't you worry about that.
We will find you. That's awesome. Man, so we've talked a lot about today. I wanted to leave it to you, maybe if you have any closing remarks.
So yeah, first of all, thanks.
Yes.
I appreciate you having me for the
thank
pilot
you.
episode. I've
Thank
been
you.
looking
This is
forward to this
amazing.
all
This is
week.
tight.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, this is great. Just another tool in the toolbox for Yokota's Airmen to come out and listen to a couple guys with some experience in some of this stuff and
Yes, sir.
some knowledge as far as leadership and things like that. And I hope that we have hit some topics that are interesting and that this resonates with the population. And I'm looking forward to see where it goes, man. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
No,
It was
thank
awesome.
you. Thank you for being a part of this pilot episode. It's kind of funny. Like I think I've talked about it before with you, but I literally had this epiphany within 2 weeks, and because I listen to podcasts all the time, and I was like, we should. And then I heard Chief Wright's Blueprint Leadership.
Yeah. Oh,
and I
yeah.
was like, okay, this is something we should
That's right.
feed off of, and we should be eating. So I was
100%.
like, so this is definitely a step I want to take, not in terms of just Yokota, but maybe, some more other branches or anything like that. But I think this is just a building step for us and then Yokota as a whole force. And the reason why I did this is I want the word to get out to people who might not be able to get to our seminars, who can't take off from work. And,
Yes.
you can stream this maybe hopefully wherever it is available. And, wherever we can find that platform online, it's to be determined, obviously.
Right.
To be determined. But I think the reason why I did this is I want people to be able to stream this, while they're at work or while they're at the gym or on the way to work or whatever have you. I want them to be able to feed off this and what we can provide to them. And not only just what I can, what you can, and what other people that are coming by next. And I think it'll be a good tool.
Yes.
Yeah, right on.
Agreed.
Okay, so I want to get into upcoming TFLD upcoming schedule. So for December, we have a December topic. That'll be generation gaps in emotional intelligence. That'll be this Friday, which probably people won't hear, but that's besides the point. So first quarter, we'll get into first quarter. First quarter, we have John Maxwell's Winning with People, and that'll be on the 17th of January. And all these base seminars are going to be located at the PDC, or Professional Development Seminar, right? So we have John Maxwell's Winning with People in January. We have the Yokota favorite, Toxic Leadership, Toxic Followership, which is a big one. That's a big one.
Plug.
That'll be 28 February from 08 to 1600. And then we have Workplace Synergy, which is also built by the cadre here. That will be the 20th of March. And then we have J-Babes as well, which will be coming up in March, but we have dates to be determined. Well, that is all I have.
Let me say one more thing real quick. You sparked something in me right there. I
Get it out.
I want to say, and even Chief Payne brought this up at our last at a meeting we were at recently. I mentioned we have A1Cs all the way up to myself, Chief Master Sergeants, that come out and facilitate this course. What we've been missing, though, I think a lot of times in our seminars are senior NCOs at the actual seminars learning, right?
True story.
I'm yet to see a first sergeant in there.
True story. We have one on the cadre now.
We have one on the cadre.
We have one on the cadre now.
But don't think just because you have that rooftop on your lapel or on your chest or on your arm, wherever the hell it's at now, that you can't come and learn something from these men and women. Because I come all the time. I try to make all the ones I can. Obviously, my schedule's pretty busy, but I'll just go and sit and listen for an hour or two. And I always walk out of that room with something else, right? With a thought or an idea or something from listening to these facilitators and the people that are in these courses, things they bring up that I can take back to my unit, or that I can tell my kids, or that I can do something like that. So please, if you're listening to this, first sergeants, senior NCOs, leaders throughout this base, this is not just for airmen and the lower ranks. This is for you as well. If you are a leader, and I don't mean by rank, I mean by person. If you are a leader, please come out and attend these seminars, because they are really something. I promise you will leave with something, an idea, or some sort of tool in your toolbox that you did not step in there with.
Yes, sir.
So
Right on. Well, thank you for the message. That concludes the first episode. Right on. We
All
did
right,
it.
we did it.
We did it.
Up
We
high.
did it. All right.
Yeah,
well,
that's it.
All right. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen.